Hi guys, JP from FSiPanel. On this video, I will show you the cockpit flows, a feature of FSiPanel Advanced Edition. And we are going to use the beautiful brand new TFDI Design MD-11 today. So we are sitting in Zurich, and as you can see, the weather is not too good. We have 5 degrees Celsius, so we should use engine anti-ice for the departure as it is raining and the temperature is below 10 degrees Celsius. And I will show you how you can use the flows all the way to destination Geneva. So before I forget, please subscribe to the channel. And another thing I wanted to tell you is that you don't need to use FSiPanel to position the aircraft if you want to use the flows. You just need to have FSiPanel started and the MD-11 on the ground anywhere you like, and you can use the flows. So it's good to use if you're flying on VATSIM or if you're just doing a flight around the place. All right, so let's go in the cockpit and see what we can do. All right, so we're in the cockpit, everything is ready. I have done my performance, my flight plan is entered, and the aircraft is basically boarded, and we are ready to start the engine. We are going to ask for the clearance, and we got the clearance to start. So we are ready to pick up the flow before start, the very first flow, and to see what is happening there. Okay, so what do we expect on the before start flow? We have the emergency light switch that needs to be armed. So that could be at this time not armed for some reason if we didn't do the cockpit preparation correctly. So let's put it off to see what happened. The cockpit door right there, this is the switch. Right now it's still unlocked. Then we're expecting the non-smoking sign to be on. It's already on here. And the seatbelt sign should be turned on as well, of course. Then we have the windshield heater and the defrog. This should be set. Auto brake should be set to takeoff. The transponder, which right now, if we look, is still on standby. The transponder should be set to transponder. We have the auxiliary hydraulic pump 1 on, that should be turned on, sorry. The beacon light should be turned on. And finally, we need some ignition, so ignition A will be turned on. So whenever you're ready, you're at the gate, you just bring the flow menu by hitting your keys or keyboard, so your keyboard or your joystick controller button that you have assigned. In my case, it's Ctrl-Shift F11, so I bring it right now, and you get the menu. Once the menu is there, you have before start, so you just need to click on before start, and that's it. Now FSiPanel is acting as your first officer. You can see that the emergency light has been armed, seatbelt sign on, ignition A. We have now the engine anti-ice that has been turned on. We have the auto brake, which is on RTO. We should have the transponder on transponder mode, ready for taxi. And we have the cockpit door, which is locked and in automatic. Auxiliary pump 1 is on as well. And basically, we are ready to start the engines. So that's as easy as that. So let me start the engine and I will show you what you have for the after start flow. All right, the 3 engines have been started. I just finished the engine number 2 right now, and we are going to look together at the after start flow. So the after start flow, basically now we're gonna have to switch on the engine anti-ice as the temperature outside is 5 degrees with visible moisture. So this is automatic, detected by FSiPanel. Then the APU bleed will be turned off, which will turn off the APU a few seconds later. And finally, the flaps must be set to take off as well. This is done by FSiPanel. So let me bring the flow, Ctrl-Shift F11, and I just click on after start. So now if we look here, we can see engine anti-ice are turned on, the APU bleed off, and the flaps are moving to flaps 25 as compute for departure. As easy as that, I can bring the checklist and I will be ready for taxi. So let's start taxiing and I'll show you the next flow, which is a very straightforward, that's the taxi procedure. So let's start taxiing. I'll see you close to our takeoff runway. All right, on the way to the holding point, runway 28, cabin is secure, just got the call from the cabin. So now we can call the taxi procedure. This is a very straightforward flow. We are just checking that the auto brake is on takeoff, and we are going to arm the spoiler. So let's bring the flow and click on taxi procedure. Here you go, everything looks normal, so you can continue your taxi for the next flow, which will be basically the lineup flow. So if we have a look at the lineup flow, what we are going to set here is the high intensity light as we are lining up the runway. The nose taxi light will go on takeoff. The landing light depends on what you choose. If you're only cleared for lineup, usually we don't switch on the landing light, so this is up to you. You will see it in a minute. And finally, the transponder will be set to TARA. As you can see right now, we have TCAS off. So let me stop here and I'll show you the flow. All right, set the brake and I bring the menu. And we have the lineup flow, and there you have a couple of options, landing light on or off. So let's say you are clear for lineup and you don't want the landing light to be turned on, just turn the button off. And the same if you want to do a pack off, takeoff. So here I've computed everything with the packs on, so we leave it to packs on. So when we keep on lineup flow, high intensity light is on, the nose taxi light is on takeoff. We have the TRA, the transponder. If we have a look there, is on TARA, that's good. And the landing light, they remained off, as this was my choice. Perfect. So let's line up the runway now that everything is done. And then we are going to do the after takeoff flow. That's the only flow that you have available in the air. And what happened there is the packs and bleeds. Should you have a packs off takeoff, then FSiPanel will reconfigure the bleed should you forget to do it as per the procedure. Then the spoiler will be disarmed. Then we're going to have the auto brake switch set to off. And finally, something that is as well very important is to set the dial, the flap here from 25 to 15, the default position. And that's about it. So let's do the takeoff. So now my lights are still off. And let's say I want to turn on the light, but I don't want to lose the control. So what I can do is bring the flow again, select landing light on, and call the lineup flow again. And now, for sure, if I look up, my lights are on. Doing a lineup here for departure. Anti-ice is on. Everything is set. So let's do the takeoff, clean up the airplane, and then we'll do the after takeoff flow. Here we go, lined up. And ready to depart. The step trim is wrong. The step trim should be at 5.0. So let's put the step trim at 5.0. Here we go. Ready to depart. Take off. Auto flight. Check takeoff thrust. Thrust set, 80 knots. V1, rotate. Positive rate of climb, gear up. And now the aircraft is so light on this short flight. Look at this beautiful climb rate. Okay, so we are going to engage the autopilot. So I'll go with nav, profile, auto flight. Here we go. We are doing nose abutment procedure, so we should have the acceleration at 4,500, no ice detected. So now if you feel like there is no ice in the climb out, can turn off the engine anti-ice, off. And now we start the acceleration, so we are above the flaps retraction bug. Flaps up. And now we are waiting for the slat retraction and slats up. Our slats are up, aircraft is climbing nicely. Now we are clear to our cruising altitude of flight level 170, and we are going to bring the after takeoff flow. So packs and bleed, they're already on in our case. What we expect is the spoiler to be disarmed. We're expecting as well the auto brake switch to be positioned to off and the dial flap, here to be set to 15. So let's bring the flow and just call after takeoff. And as you can see, this is done, off, and if we go to the dial flap right there, it's set to 15. All good, we are ready to fly. There is no more flow until the after landing. So I'll fly this very short flight to Geneva, and I meet you just on short final to do the landing, and then to show you the last flows after landing and a shutdown flow. All right, here we are, short final in Geneva, approaching 1,000 feet, still over the lake. Looks like we have a rain shower on short final. So temperature is low. I have switched on the engine anti-ice. So engine anti-ice are on for the landing, and we have visible moisture passing 1,000 feet, stabilized, missed approach altitude set, and we are just going to do the landing, vacate the runway, and see the after landing flow. Perfect. So we passed 1,000, stable, and let's hope we see the runway. It's coming in front of us. So we'll do a manual landing. I'll disconnect the automation by 500 feet and see what we can do.
500.
Now we're in the shower.
400.
400 feet, check. Now my visibility is good enough. Let's take autopilot off.
Minimum. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10.
And touchdown. No reverse. We have the speed brake up and decelerating. So I'm going to hit the brake, and we expect the auto brake disarm light. Here we go. And we are going for the second to the left, which is taxiway Delta. We vacate the runway right there. Okay, let's slow down to 60 knots. And then at 50, we're going to have taxi speed. Vacate the runway here to the left. And I will show you the after landing flow. So here, the problem I had, and this is why I coded these flows initially, is because right there, you start looking up, down, where's my IPU switch? How do I turn off the transponder and so on? And when you look up again, you are basically in the grass. So that's the reason why we have these flows. And to initiate these flows, you have several options. Either you bring the menu like we did since the beginning, or for this one, you can just retract one notch of flaps. So in our case, let me put the parking brake. In our case, it will be one notch. So we are at flaps 35. I use F6 key. It's important to use F6 key. And then FSiPanel will start with the after landing flow. So what do we expect on the after landing flow? Well, the spoiler should be disarmed, retracted and disarmed. The flaps will be moved up. Then the auto brake switch will go to off. The transponder will go to transponder only for the taxi. Landing lights will be turned off. We will keep the taxi light on. Then the high intensity light will be off. The stab trim will be set to 3. And the weather radar, if I had it on, so it will be turned off. So imagine I have the weather radar on. So then the radar should be turned off. And finally, the APU will be started. So let's bring those flows and see what happens. So I will retract the flaps just one notch. and we'll see the after landing flow. Here we go. So you can see the flaps, you can see the spoilers, you can see the aircraft now trimming the stab trim. If we look up, we can see that the taxi light is on, the landing lights are off, the high intensity light have been turned off, the auto brake switch is off, and if we look over there, we should have the transponder to transponder now this time. That's the case. And basically that's it. The weather radar, yeah, we said we want to check the weather radar. So it's turned off and the APU is starting. So basically you can just taxi your airplane to the gate without having to worry about your cockpit setup. All right, let me taxi to the gate and I show you the last one, the shutdown flow. All right, here we are approaching our stand. Everything looks good. We will park the aircraft right there in Geneva, and then we will see the last flow together. Okay, here we are, stand 1-5. Parking the aircraft. And here we go. Parking brake set. Now the APU should be running, that's the case, so I can switch off the engine. One thing that you need to do is to turn off the engine anti-ice. So that can be done either before or after shutting down the engine. Normally we do it before. So here I will try the flows. So what I will do, shut down the engine, and I bring again the flow. And this time I would like the shutdown flow. Here we go. So when we do the shutdown flow, a lot of things will happen. If you look up right there, we have the engine anti-ice off, then the windshield turned off on that panel, then the defrog turned off as well. The emergency lights are off, then the IRS are off. We can see that the cargo temperature went off as well. The ignitions went off as per the FCOM, and then the lights have been turned off, the beacon light has been turned off, the seatbelt sign has been turned off, the speed brake flaps are checked off, and the transponder is to standby. So basically everything has been done, and we have the status page here available for us. And that completes our flight. As easy as that. You can use the flow if you use FSiPanel, or if you don't use FSiPanel, it doesn't matter. The only thing you need is to have the Advanced Edition and load the beautiful TFDI MD-11, and you can use the flow. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you have any question or comment, drop it in the section down below. As always, stay safe and please subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.